Welcome to the Grit Reapers, the podcast for aspiring online entrepreneurs that cuts through all the crap in the online business world and dishes out the raw and real truth about what it really takes to have a successful online business. No sugarcoating, no get-rich-quick schemes, just honest advice with a healthy dose of humor and hope.
We're your hosts, Gail and Candace, two online entrepreneurs who've been there, done that, and lived to tell the tale. So if you're looking for straight talk, practical tips, and the occasional reality check to get your online business moving, you're in the right place. Let's get down to business.
Hello, Gail.
Hey, Cans, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Welcome to our listeners. Welcome to this week's episode of the Grit Reapers. I think Gail and I both personally have had a couple changes in our systems, in kind of the people we wanted to work with. Like both our businesses in their own way have been through like overhauls and redos and kind of re-looking at things, restructuring things. And in some ways it's actually felt, I know for me, I think for you, Gail, as well, it's in some ways felt like we've taken a few steps back. And it's brought up like a whole lot of emotional stuff, like frustration and kind of being back into like this lack of momentum. So it certainly has had its challenges. I think that on the positive side, both of us feel a lot more aligned with kind of the vision we have going forward. And we've had some like pretty amazing conversations about insights and lessons we've learned from the experience. Would that be an accurate description of your experience as well, Gail?
Absolutely, Cans. I think that, often, as you always say, you're so in the mud of your business, like trying to figure out what's happening and what to do next, that you don't often get a chance just to sort of stand back and have a look. And I think we've both been doing some of that standing back and just seeing what we're doing, whether it's still aligned with how we're feeling. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, and definitely getting some more insights into, how we want to go forward and how our 2025 and beyond is going to look.
100%. I know there've been many things on both of our minds, but there was something in particular that you said to me, you'd been thinking a lot about, and it would be great if we could record an episode on that. Do you want to share with our listeners what that is?
Okay, so just for some context, I run a signature program along with Meg, who's been a guest on our show before, called the Superhero Journey. And on the Superhero Journey, we basically take people through the launch process. It's more a practical program where I help them to create all the assets that they need for their launch using AI. And then the idea at the end of the program is for them to launch, to take that offer that we've spent 8 weeks building out together, spending all that time, putting it all into Kajabi, and they actually need to launch it. And I can count on one hand, probably not even one full hand, of the people who've actually gone on to launch. Now, it really got me thinking. We finished our last cohort just before Christmas last year, and one of my past students came back on, and she was like, I didn't join this cohort because I launched my course. She's like, and I got 29 students in it, and we all like cheered, and we were like, that's amazing, and whoa, and then I thought, but now I've got a whole lot of the same group who went through the course at the same time. Like, where are your launches? Like, why haven't you launched? And I kind of thought back a little bit to my interactions with this group of ladies, and some of the ladies had been working on the same offer or the same thing for months, literally maybe the whole year, and not actually put their offer out into the world, not actually taken that step to say, okay, guys, I've spent the last X months creating this, and come and join me, here it is. And so it got me thinking as to why that happens. And you and I have spoken about it quite a bit. And yeah, I have some ideas. Cans, I don't know if you want to go first with some of your insights, and then basically whatever we can carry on with what I've kind of learned.
Yeah, so I suppose if we just crystallize what we're saying, it's this phenomenon of why don't people take action? Why aren't they doing the thing, even though it appears as if they're doing it, right? Because I think the common narrative around solopreneurs or small business owners is like they are just stretched so thin, they have no time, they are always busy, right? So it looks as if you're productive and you're like doing the things, but actually, and that's true. I'm not saying they're not busy, like,
It
oh
is
yes,
true.
oh yes,
Yes.
they are busy.
Yes,
But
I'm
I
not
think
true.
what we're saying is it's almost as if people, whether it's conscious or not, keep themselves in cycles of busyness that involve all the things, but not actually the thing
The thing.
that they are working towards, which is actually launching or getting some money in. It's like, why does that happen? What keeps people in cycles of busyness that mask themselves as productivity,
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, Cans, these ladies are phenomenal. They are busy, they are building, they are creating. It's the one thing that really caught me by surprise in the online world is just how much you have to create. You have to be creating assets, content every single day in order to run a successful online business. And these ladies are doing the thing.
Yeah.
But as you say, they never actually doing the thing. So they're never actually putting their offers out to their audience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I have a bit of a theory about this, just from because I find myself doing it, and like I've had a lot of thoughts about it. Obviously, there's the whole sort of fear of being visible, which we can also chat about, which I know I have Meg, who's been on our program before. She actually did a bit of a vulnerable share post at the beginning of the year saying, guys, like, how do you as aging entrepreneurs feel about being on camera when your wrinkles are showing? And so there's that whole side of it. But for me, what I realized is that when I decide on a new offer, or when I get an idea of how I can help somebody, like I begin to nurture that little offer. I see that offer almost like a living, breathing baby. Like it consumes you, and you grow to love it, and you just grow to be like, this is going to be amazing, and people are going to love this, and they're going to need this, and this little offer holds such potential. Could this be my first 5-figure launch, or could this be my first 6-figure launch? You see all of these people in the Facebook groups and stuff having these amazing launches, and you're like, could this be my offer? And while it belongs to you, while you haven't offered it to anybody, it still holds this potential. It's still yours. You still love it. As soon as you take that step to offer it, and it's an unknown step, then people might be like, you just hear crickets and like, no, nobody wanted that offer, or nobody took up that offer. And so when that happens, and whether you're thinking, preempting that might be what happens, or if it's just all subconscious, I feel like you almost hold on to it. Well, I do. I hold on to my offers because while they're my offers, they have a potential. But if I never get them out, then they hold no potential. So it's a definite cycle that you have to be brave enough to break.
And as you were speaking, I think the association I had in my mind was, when I was a clinical therapist and I would attend monthly trainings to just like develop your own knowledge and like really deepen your understanding of theories and blah, 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 blah. And I trained quite psychoanalytically, psychodynamically. So it was very like object relations based, and I mean, like really amazing stuff. But there is a lot to be said around your fantasy world, and then really when you bump up and into reality. And how that is actually like a very disillusioning process. It can even be traumatic for people, And I think that there's almost like a remnant of that in what you're describing, because I feel like I remember my clinical supervisor once said to me, Candace, why do people buy lottery tickets? Like, if you actually think about it, right? It's like, what are the odds?
Yeah,
right?
what are the odds?
I was like, yeah, but it has to be someone. So like, it could be me, You know how I always joke about when I speak about launching and that whole like casino analogy, and I'm like, walk into the casino and you find that quarter on the floor, and you like, all of a sudden you're like, well, somebody's gonna win big tonight, and it could be me, I think where he was going with it is like, people buy lottery tickets because yes, while it technically may be true, that somebody at some point has to win. The odds aren't really in your favor, okay? But it allows you to play the what would I do if I won $10 million, right? So it allows your fantasy world to become very alive. I would quit my job, I'd pick up my kids, we'd fly all over. You can hear there's almost like you can really get into the fantasy, and then our fantasies hold all our hopes and our desires, and for the minute you're in that fantasy world, it feels real, it feels possible, it feels possible. And I think that in the planning and the doing of the building a landing page, putting the form together, writing the emails, there's so much kind of housed in, well, this could turn into a XYZ business, or I could have, you actually can tap into all the desire and hope, and you project your kind of fantasies while it's all in that doing, the doing of the planning and the
100%.
admin and the branding and the,
And I also think that when you're in that doing as well, you convince yourself more and more and more that it's going to work. You're writing the emails, so you're writing out all the pain points, you're writing out all the benefits, like the value that you bring. So it becomes, as I said, this living, breathing,
but in your mind, right?
In your mind. Oh, 100% in your mind.
I think the scary bit is, and I know you and I have experienced this recently, it's like, the scary bit is that when it then does become concrete, as in you actually do start telling people or putting it out there, you bump and crash into reality, which is sometimes no one's answering. And it's like that process where what you had hoped, fantasized, projected, crashes into, oh my God, it's not quite happening that way. It can do a lot of things, and I think it does different things to people, right? Let's just say that it can either knock you down and you can't get back up, or it could be like, oh, okay, well, that's great, at least I know that's not going to work. So I think the way we all deal with it is different. But I also think that sometimes we do things without even really knowing we're doing it. I think sometimes like our minds can be really clever. And I know I don't know if we've spoken about this, I'm sure we have, but at some point last year, you literally said to me, okay, now listen nicely, my friend. I'm going to be your branding sponsor, okay? Candace? I really remember one day you were just like, oh my God, it's like enough is enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop rebranding. Stop redoing your entire color palette. And I knew, the funny scale that when I was doing it, I actually could feel there was something driving it. Like I knew it wasn't just about rebranding, but I couldn't quite put my finger on like what was this about? Like what was this behavior about? And I think you also have to be a little bit like ruthless with yourself sometimes. You really have to be able to stop and say, hold up, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I think that what I actually realized is that sometimes when I feel anxious, because I don't know, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know if anyone is going to want this. It makes me anxious. And so what I do with that feeling, my personality is that when I have a list of things I need to do, it helps me manage anxiety. Like when I tick off, I feel like, okay, I've got the list, I know what I need to do. So it actually lowers my anxiety. And what I was doing was really just like an avoidant behavior. I was running away from the deeper feeling, which is like, oh God, like, is this going to work? Is anyone going to want this? To, well, if I'm so busy for the next week, like again, rebranding, at least it feels like I'm doing something.
Exactly, Kant. And I think, and I see it in myself as well. And I feel like I revert back to what I can control. So when I'm feeling in that anxious space, when a launch is imminent or I'm about to send that offer email, guys, I've done this, would you like to come and join me? My sort of default is to do something that I can control. And for me, again, Candace, yours is rebranding. We laugh. I remember phoning you and saying, Candace, the next time you decide to rebrand, phone me first, because I'm going to tell you you don't need to rebrand again and what's going on. Mine, and I definitely had some thoughts about this over the holiday. Mine is to default back to either, like, if there's part of the launch that needs the technical side, I'll go in and I'll check it all again, even though I know that it's checked, it's green on my my to-do list, it's done. I'll go in and I'll check it again, or I'll go onto social media. because I can lose myself on social media. I can scroll, I can do whatever. So avoidant behaviors. And I think when you can identify them, you can identify how you're feeling, and that's helped me so much. I mean, I've launched 2 offers this year already. One had no success, well, sort of success. People said yes, but not now. The other one has had a bit more success. It's helped me to understand, and it's helped me to be able to let go of the outcome more easily. I understand I get anxious, and I understand that I don't sleep as well, and my default is to pull up social media and just scroll, because it kind of gives my brain something else to do rather than thinking about it. So I think if you can identify those behaviors and maybe put something in place of them, and just say, this is what I'm feeling, and I just need to push through. I think that is really helpful.
And I also know, just reflecting on how I started this to where I am now, I just came in with so many like misconceptions about how this was going to work. My personality is like very organized, love a good to-do list, and I just felt like this was all going to happen in like a really linear way. Do this, then do this, then do this.
And then this will happen.
When it didn't happen like that, it really like not as dramatic as like fragmented me, but it was like really difficult for me. I didn't know how to just be in like not knowing, and like in messiness, in gray. There's a part of my brain that wants black and white.
Yeah.
Even though I know logically that's not how life works. I mean, I know all of that. But my brain, I think, wanted it to be black and white. And then all of a sudden I was in this gray, like you were saying, I call it like, I often speak about how like we just got to get in the mud, and the more you try to get the mud off you, the more it like sticks to you, So it's almost like, I think what would have been so helpful, I don't know if it's reasonable to think that I could have, but I don't know, it would have been helpful to know from the get-go, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't like being uncomfortable, this is going to be hell. Like, this is going to be hell for you. Right? So being in the not knowing, just like months sometimes where you just lost and you can't see, and it's actually like part of it. You can't escape that. You actually can't. And I actually think if you're doing a good job in your business, you are going to have that. You should have that, because you're listening to your audience, you're watching, you're observing, you're tweaking your offers to match what you see. Like, it's never once and done. And a lot of us, I think I can speak for a lot of people, there's this desire that it will be like that. It'll be this once and done, linear, black and white. And when it isn't, whether we know it or not, we find these things. So for me, it was rebranding. And at one point I said to you, okay, Gail, I'm going to be your course sponsor. Like, no more courses. Stop signing up for courses.
No buying courses.
Stop getting into memberships. Like, stop, and you need to be my branding sponsor. Because we both had these behaviors where it was about something else.
Yeah.
It was really just preventing us from getting out there and just like actually doing the thing that would have been the most helpful, which is like, oh, no one's saying yes, that's really helpful, so I'm not going to waste my time on that. Okay, let's go to the next thing, Yeah.
And Kans, as you were saying, like, you don't know whether you could have done it without learning all of this, and it would have been nice if somebody had, if you knew it beforehand. And I feel like it's, as you were saying, it's just all part of the journey. And I feel like even if somebody had, well, I mean, people did tell us, people tell you all the time, like validate your offers, okay? And again, this has really helped me. So I said, I'd put out 2 offers. One I didn't validate. I just presumed, I just thought I knew what people wanted. And the one I did, I took the time to survey my audience. I asked questions, and that's the one that worked. So like, you can mitigate these sort of circumstances by following some best practice. But I don't feel like I really would have believed it until I had got to this stage. So I feel like everybody's journey is going to be everybody's journey, and whatever your journey is the right journey for you, as long as you are moving forward, as long as you are putting offers out there. And again, like, do the monetize before you make it. I know that absolutely petrified me when I first got into the online world. Like, how could I offer something without actually have it? Like, but that first offer that I built, yes, I built some things out. I built out a sales page, and I did build some things out. But I built the bare minimum, and then it didn't work. And I don't think it didn't work because I got people saying, I'm interested, but just not now. So remember, Alex Hormozy said, if somebody says no, it's not a no forever. It may just be no because it's not the right time, or no, not this offer, but maybe your next offer. So don't let it derail you, which I think is also, I've got to the stage where when people say no to an offer, it doesn't derail me. Cans, I remember, if you remember last year, how my one launch where people actually said yes, and I should have been celebrating, and I was like, oh, but I only got 3 people, thought it was the end of the world. Like, you move through that, and when people say no, it's a chance to learn and say, okay, right, not quite like that, and then you tweak it again. So yeah, I think if you're stuck in that place where you're not actually offering what you're doing, putting it out to your audience, then
you never know.
you'll never know.
Actually, you'll never know. Gail, I know I've spoken to you about this client I worked with last year that, oh my God, like, so interesting, like just loved working with them. And they're called the uncertainty experts, right? And they basically help people manage not knowing when it comes to something with their work. So like whether you're a 9-to-5er and maybe there are like retrenchments happening or like redundancy, and then that unearths a whole lot of like anxiety and not knowing, or whether it's like for us, like our entrepreneurial kinds of people who never know month to month, what is their cash flow? It's really in any work context, how we manage uncertainty, not knowing. And one of the things I learned from them was they speak a lot about these, they call them safety behaviors, the things we do as humans to prevent us from feeling the uncertainty, the not knowing. So I know I had said to you, but maybe even for our listeners, if people would be interested to hear a bit of the science, the thing that's amazing about the uncertainty experts is they've got Catherine, who calls herself like a rebel scientist, and then Sam, her husband, who's like just this like TED speaker, author, and he's like a real living day pirate. He's all about breaking the rules, and they just the most dynamic duo. But when they teach and talk, it's a lot of storytelling baked into then what does the science say, like the neuroscience of how the brain works. And I thought it would be such an interesting conversation to maybe invite them on to our podcast to talk about these safety behaviors. So maybe our audience can tell us if it's something they're interested in. We can always look into it. And I'd love to hear, and I know Gail too, like if you've listened to this and it's like sparked something in you, and now you're all like, oh my God, I also rebrand every 3 months, or I'm constantly building landing pages and writing email sequences and whatever. Where do you find yourself? What catches you that keeps you busy, but actually you're starting to think might be like preventing you from actually just taking action, So
really interesting.
Yeah, let us know. Any last thoughts, Gaily?
I remember one thing that James Wedmore always says, and he's like, if you want more revenue in 2025, or wherever we are when you're listening to this podcast, you have to put more offers out to more people more often. And I think for me, 2025 is going to be the year. So I've got my 2 signature programs that I will be offering regularly, but I am going to be testing offers and speaking to people. And, as you all know, I'm a big AI person, and I use AI a lot for audience insights, and it can tell me a lot of stuff, but it can't tell me what people would be willing to pay for. It can give me good foundations, it can give me good ideas, but it's ultimately the people. So you have to test, and in order to test, you have to put it out there. So survey your audiences with your offers before you spend all this time building. Once you've got enough people who've said yes, and again, it's not 100% guaranteed, but the more people that you sort of speak to and who give you their insights, the more likely you are that people will put their hand up. And then you've just got to go for it. And hopefully that baby just grows into an amazing online business. But until you put it out there, you will never know.
Yeah, 100%. That's good advice. Thanks, Gail. Well, we'll catch you all next week. Thank you for listening. Anything that's on your mind, Gail and I really do like speaking to people,
We love speaking to
relationships and humans. And so we are available, and you can always get hold of us. Otherwise, everything's on our website. www.thegritreapers.com. All the episodes are there. We're on all the directories, and you can find Gail and I, and we're nice people. We do like speaking to people. Hello. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week. Bye.